Alright, so I just managed to balance my iPhone 16 Pro Max with the Freewell 6X telephoto lens on my DJI RS4 Mini gimbal, and today I'm going to walk around with this setup and see what kind of shots I can get. Let's go. Alright, I hope you were just as impressed as I was with the image quality this rig produces. Now, let me share with you how I mounted this rig on the RS4 Mini gimbal and also share with you the pros and cons of using the Freewell 6X telephoto lens. So, the heart of this rig is definitely this cage from Freewell, which allowed me to flip the iPhone around and put the majority of the weight in the center of the gimbal to make it as easy as possible balancing everything out. Otherwise, if I had the lens here on the left side, it would have been pretty much impossible balancing this rig on the RS4 Mini gimbal. So if you have an iPhone and you want to use extra accessories like lenses, filters, and so on the RS4 Mini gimbal, you'll have to use a cage like this, which allows you to put everything in the center of the gimbal to make it as easy as possible balancing everything out. I highly recommend this cage from Freewell. It is expensive, but the build quality is fantastic. It also comes with like handles for more comfortable handheld shooting. But if this cage is too expensive for you, I'm sure you can find something much cheaper than this. Just make sure it has a 1/4-inch thread to mount a plate just below the camera lenses of the iPhone to be able to put the majority of the weight in the center of the gimbal as much as possible. Another accessory that made balancing everything a bit easier on this gimbal is the SmallRig RS4 Mini Arca Swiss plate, which allows you to use any Arca Swiss accessory you want directly on the gimbal without having to use the proprietary DJI plate. And this plate basically allowed me to easily slide my iPhone right and left and balance the motor on the back, because I've reached the maximum extension with the rail in here. And if I have the plate in the center, as you can see, my phone, this rig basically is not going to be balanced, but with the help of the SmallRig plate, I can just, slightly undo the plate in here and slide my iPhone towards the inside of the gimbal and basically compensate for the weight in here. If you are interested in more accessories from SmallRig, they also offer this MagSafe mount for the RS4 Mini gimbal, but also you can use it on a normal tripod because it has an Arca Swiss plate at the bottom. They also offer pretty much the same thing, but with a spring-loaded phone mounting mechanism. And also they have this side handle, which you can mount to the side of the gimbal to mount extra accessories like a monitor, microphone, lights, and so on. Now let's talk about the Freewell 6X telephoto lens. First of all, this lens will transform your 1X 24mm lens on the iPhone to 144mm, which is great for like portraits, animal shooting, or if you just want to have more reach from the camera of the iPhone. Now you're probably asking yourself, why don't I just use the built-in 5x 120mm lens on the iPhone, because it's going to be much more convenient than having this big lens in here. And basically it all comes down to image quality. I did a couple of tests between the 5x lens on the iPhone and using the 6x telephoto lens from Freewell, and the Freewell lens delivers much sharper results in my opinion. And also you get slightly more reach, 120mm versus 144mm. Now, in terms of image quality, I think this lens delivers fantastic image quality, especially in the center. And when compared to this lens, which is the Sandmark 6X telephoto lens, the Freewell lens definitely delivers much better image quality in terms of like overall sharpness, contrast, and all this stuff. I've made a review on this Sandmark lens a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't like it at all because no matter what I did, I just could not get my subject in focus, sharp enough, it just looked too soft for me. I'm not sure if I got bad copy, but when comparing these two lenses, the Freewell lens delivers much better image quality than the Sandmark 6X telephoto lens. However, although this lens is quite good when it comes to image quality, I notice that sometimes it produces a weird flare when you backlight your subject, especially in the right bottom corner of the frame. And also because you are essentially mounting a lens on top of another lens, you will get these blurry, sides of the frame. So you will not really be able to put your subject on the side of the frame and have it very sharp. It's mostly when the subject is right in the center of the frame, it's going to be very sharp. Now, a couple of other things to consider when using this lens. First of all, you will not be able to use this lens when shooting handheld because the stabilization will just not be able to compensate for this kind of a focal length. So you'll either be able to use it on a tripod, or if you are crazy like me, you can mount it on a gimbal and get good stabilization performance. But even with a gimbal, you will notice slight stabilization jitters. So to compensate for that, you'll definitely have to use extra stabilization in post-production. And the movements that you'll be able to make with this gimbal have to be very gentle. Otherwise, you're gonna see a lot of stabilization artifacts and jitters and so on. And even with, the best stabilization plugins and stuff like that, you will not be able to really stabilize this kind of shots. So it's good for very subtle movements when you're doing very slow, stable movements. And even with these movements, you'll still have to apply extra stabilization in post-production. Now, final thing I want to mention is that you'll basically have to focus 2 times when using this lens. First of all, you have to put the focus on the lens, and then you'll have to also adjust the focus precisely on the phone itself. It is a bit annoying because you're basically, adjusting the focus twice, but this is a side effect of using a lens that cannot communicate with the camera sensor properly. All in all, I highly enjoyed using this setup. It was very new to me, using a telephoto lens like this. And I think if you want to stand out from the rest of the iPhone shooters, using something like this is definitely going to help you a lot, because not a lot of people will take an iPhone and mount a 144mm lens on it to get incredible footage like I showed you throughout this video. It's definitely not the most optimal thing because of the stabilization, because of the blurry edges, also because you have to adjust the focus twice. But if you have the patience and you are as geeky as I am, this setup definitely is going to be a lot of fun to use, and it delivers fantastic results in my opinion. Anyhow, I'm going to leave links to everything I've mentioned in this video down below. And also don't forget to check out my iPhone LUTs, which will convert Apple log to Rec 709 with a slight touch of a color grade at the same time. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, also let me know down below. And I guess I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.